Tonight, it is my honor to introduce our commencement speaker, Andrew Crawford. Born and raised in the Flathead Valley, Andrew began training as a classical violinist at the young age of 2. When he graduated from Flathead High School, he received a scholarship to play music anywhere in the nation. He chose Oregon because of its good reputation and especially for the rising sport of snowboarding. He enrolled at Central Oregon Community College and played for its symphony, yet he could not ignore his newfound love of snowboarding. After lining up a few sponsors, he took the road less traveled and began a career as a professional snowboarder. During his 10-year career, he competed in the X Games, was featured as a character in 2 video games, and competed across the globe. During the height of his career, he ranked in the top 10 of professional snowboarders in the world. At the age of 30, and after 35 or more broken bones and countless surgeries, Andrew decided to hang up his professional board and go back to school. His mom, who is here tonight, encouraged him to check out FECC, and 2 days later, he walked into our admissions office. Little did Andrew know that 2 years later, he would get a call from NASA saying, "Get on a plane, we're flying you to Houston." During his time at FECC, Andrew pursued a transfer degree in engineering. He was a scholarship recipient and served as a student ambassador. He embraced every opportunity to share his story and express his gratitude to donors, inspiring them to continue to give to support FEC students and the future of Northwest Montana. During his second year at FECC, Andrew won a scholarship from the Montana Space Grant Consortium, a branch of NASA that provides funding to help launch future aerospace engineers into careers. Andrew also competed in the NASA Mars Rover Design Contest. Not only did he win first place, he also won an invitation to the National Community College Aerospace Scholars Competition at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, and there, competing, his team also took home first place. Needless to say, Andrew caught NASA's attention, and he was offered an internship at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena before transferring to Montana State University to continue his studies in mechanical and aerospace engineering. During his time at MSU, he worked in MSU's Space Science and Engineering Laboratory, helping launch Montana's first satellite. He completed his second internship at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was accepted to and graduated from NASA Academy Ames Research Center, and he completed an internship at NASA Ames, working with NASA and the United States Army on prototype helicopter simulation platforms. He spoke at the Aeronautical Astronautical Congress in China, where he proposed a mission to Saturn's moon, and he completed an internship at Google X. Google X knew a good thing when they saw it, and the company offered Andrew a full-time position as a systems test engineer working on Google's self-driving car. This spring, Andrew's story of his transition from snowboarding to school was featured in Trans World Snowboarding magazine. And just before he boarded a plane to Kalispell a few days ago, he added to his resume a successful finish at the Thomas Cook Ironman 70.3 on the Spanish island of Majorca. Please join me in welcoming one of our illustrious, very own, and truly out-of-this-world alumni, Andrew Crawford.
Will the graduating class of 2015 please stand up? That's right. Give these guys a round of applause. Now, graduates, take your right index finger, place it on your heart, and repeat after me. I made it. I worked so hard to get here. I can't hear you guys. You're going to need to yell. I will remember this moment. There we go. It has not been easy. I had help along the way. But I alone persevered. Please be seated. Would the professors and faculty from FECC that helped get these students here tonight please stand up? Please take your right finger, your index finger, place it on your heart, and repeat after me. I made it. I have worked tirelessly to help these students get here. The work that I do is of the highest value. Please be seated. Graduates, let me make one thing absolutely crystal clear. This moment, this day, this incredible accomplishment, this is not the end, or the finish line, or the summit. Instead, this day is evidence, concrete, rock-solid evidence that you have what it takes. Let me repeat that. You have what it takes. Whether you realize it or not, you have just proved to yourself and to others that you are capable of much more than you thought. You have just navigated, persevered, and graduated from a stellar academic institution with the highest caliber standards, professors, and instruction. This institution has prepared you with the very best tools to now go out into this world and push the limits of what is possible. Graduates of 2015, look around at the entire graduating class right now and soak it in. Go ahead, look around. Come on. Embrace this powerful feeling of accomplishment. I want you to burn this into your memory, this moment right here. It's a feeling that no one can ever take away from you. You earned it. It's yours to keep. Reflect back now on the endless homework, the exams, the papers, the projects, the sacrifices you made for your families, the sacrifices your families have made for you. I want you to remember the sting of Monday morning and the joy of Friday afternoon. And most of all, reflect back now that you did not give up. However, this is not the end. Why not? Because if you can accomplish this incredible goal, I want you to ponder these following questions. What else are you capable of? How far can you go? What are the limits you once thought you had, but can now push through? What are the goals you once thought out of reach, but now seem possible? President John F. Kennedy delivered a chilling speech in 1962, challenging America to land a man on the moon within 10 years. And there was a key phrase that he said during that speech that's been imprinted on me ever since. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Again, not because they're easy, but because they're hard. What you have just accomplished was not easy. It was hard. But I also caution you, do not ignore that burning question, that sense of wonder, that if you can do this, truly, what else are you capable of? That's why I've chosen to show images of space on the screens as a metaphor for uncharted territory, boundless possibilities, and exploration. Where will you dare to go? Okay, let's get crazy now, and we're going to celebrate your tremendous achievement for approximately 21 seconds. This is a classic rite of passage, hailing back from 1972, that I think every student needs to experience. So students, please stand up. This time, I want you to put your fist in the air, and when the music starts, I want you to sing along at the top of your lungs with the words on the screen. Are you ready? Hit it. School's out for summer. Come on, sing louder. I want to hear you guys. School's out forever. School's been blown to pieces. All right. I bet that felt good, didn't it? Thanks, Alice Cooper. Well, so now I'm here to tell you, from experience, that this is not the end, and that your adventure is just beginning. Exactly 4 years ago today, I was in your exact place, these exact same seats, having no idea of what the future may hold, and how this great school, FECC, would serve as my launch pad, my rocket propellant, my mission control in helping me reach for the stars, literally. Which leads me to the question, who am I and what in the world am I doing standing here in front of you today? Well, I'm a Kalispell native that has navigated my life by the seat of my pants without completely crashing and burning. I've had some pretty crazy life experiences along the way and some lessons that I want to help share with you here today. I used to be a professional snowboarder for about 10 years, jumping off cliffs from one end of the earth to the other. I competed in the X Games with my heroes, and I broke 35 bones along the way. I then started engineering school at FECC at age 30 with an engineering associate's degree from FECC, followed by a mechanical engineering degree from Montana State University. I was able to intern and work at NASA on space missions for the entire duration of my schooling. After graduating from FECC and MSU, I somehow wound up with one of the coolest jobs ever. I'm a systems test engineer at Google X, which is their Moonshot Skunkworks division. I work on Google's self-driving car, and boy, it's neat. In a nutshell, every day, I get to play with, test, and work on incredibly smart prototype cars that drive themselves all around, everywhere. And these cars will someday be driving you. My job feels like a cross between Willy Wonka Land and Star Trek. There's surreal technology. There's cool futuristic projects. And I get to work alongside truly inspirational people that are helping to solve some of the world's most pressing problems. Yet none of these accomplishments matter more than standing here in front of you today as a fellow FECC graduate in my hometown, convincing you and encouraging you to blow the doors right off their hinges, whatever those doors may be. Lesson number 1, dive in head first without looking. Now this might sound crazy, but it is. You see, by diving in head first on nothing more than blind faith and gut instinct, by throwing caution to the wind, by getting rid of the what ifs, you can navigate on your own intuition. I have navigated my life by the seat of my pants, diving in head first without looking, just parachuting in, not knowing where I would land, but I always landed. Now, sometimes I would land with spectacular failure or head first in a rabbit hole, but I learned from each one of those experiences. I came into this world traveling 100 miles an hour, operating at, I went so fast I blew off my sash. Operating 150% throttle the whole way. I think that's fitting. My parents love to ski fast, and I'm the spawn of them, so I think that kind of makes sense. At age 11, I launched a rebellion, and this was not just any rebellion. This was a world-class, full frontal assault against growing up. This included wearing a green mohawk and combat boots with a tuxedo during my orchestra recital, getting chased all over town by the cops on my skateboard, and then finally discovering snowboarding. Right then and there, I knew I needed to jump in head first. So I did. After trying and failing to make my own snowboard by chopping up my father's garden hose for bindings, sorry about that, Dad, and then bolting those to a 1x8 board so I could try and go out and snowboard, I failed. I had to regroup. As I was walking by Wheaton's one day, I saw my dream board glistening in the window, a beautiful mini Burton snowboard that was my size. I instinctively knew I had to have it. I had to dive in head first. But there was only one problem: money. My mom did something really cool as a parent that year. She offered each of her 3 children $1 a day each day that we didn't watch TV. Well, 365 days later, and almost bankrupting my mom, I went down to Wheaton's in Kalispell to buy that very same snowboard from Margaret Leekander, who's the owner of Wheaton's and who's also a fellow FECC graduate and friend. Little did I know then that by diving into snowboarding head first, I would get to see the world. What followed next was a blitzkrieg of snowboarding tricks, sore butts, endless trips to Big Mountain, and sometimes the hospital. There weren't many of us snowboarders back then, so we kind of had to teach ourselves. Jump in head first, literally. We were explorers of a new frontier with no map. My first job was age 16, washing dishes at Fred's Family Restaurant, owned by Shar and Fred Brown. Shar is a longtime FVCC faculty member and a dear friend. Well, one evening when I was washing dishes, my good buddy and snowboarding comrade, Ivan Anderson, who I'm very proud to say is graduating with you tonight in this very class with his degree in graphic design. Way to go, Ivan. Proud of you, buddy. Anyway, Ivan came flying through the kitchen doors of the restaurant and said, "Dude, you're on the cover of a magazine." I couldn't believe it. The next thing I knew, I was traveling the world and meeting some of the heroes that I'd only seen in magazines before. I worked out a compromise with my parents to where if I took night classes at a community college in Oregon and then played in the school symphony there, then I could dive into snowboarding head first during the daytime. Trying to make it to the pro level, it was tough. I need to let you in on a little secret. I am not a natural talent. I'm not lucky, and I'm not a straight A student. These professors will tell you that. But I do have a path that consists of blood, sweat, tears, pencil shavings, eraser marks, bandages, casts, scars, surgeries, and rabbit holes. When some people get things right on their first try, it usually takes me 3 or 4. True story. But I'm stubborn, and I don't give up, and I'm probably a little bit OCD. But on this very non-traditional journey that I've taken, I've been diving in head first all along the way, and I want to convey that and convince you guys to do that tonight. For the next decade, I explored and traveled the world as a professional snowboarder at breakneck speed, jumping off every cliff I could find on one end of the globe to the other. I competed in several X Games. I was filmed for videos and magazines with my heroes, and I was diving into every jump and contest that I could. By diving in head first and navigating by my gut instinct, I was able to experience some incredible moments in life in this big, bad, beautiful world, including seeing wild monkeys in Japan that would sit in the treetops and stare at you as you whiz by. I got to see reindeer in Sweden at 2 in the morning under pink skies that never went dark. I got to see monks making beer in the Swiss Alps. I got to see penguins in Antarctica, enjoying sliding on the snow just as much as I did. I cannot stress enough to you graduates the importance of simply diving in head first to things you either think impossible or not sure how to do. You see, by diving in head first, it strengthens your mind and your body. It lets you explore the processes and the experiences of trying and failing. And furthermore, it gives you that satisfaction, that feeling of trying. At least I tried it. So as I was seeing firsthand how beautiful this world was, I craved that intellectual stimulation that school provides. I found myself constantly tinkering out in the garage while I was recovering from surgeries, longing for a greater understanding of how things worked. So after 10 years on the road, 35 broken bones, I said I'm done, and I want to go to school for engineering. After encouragement from my parents, I walked through the doors at FVCC at age 30. I dove headfirst into the guidance counselor's office, and I said, "Sign me up for everything." Little did I know that FVCC would prove more challenging than snowboarding ever was. My first day of class was a shocker. Looking around at the smart young 18-year-olds, their scientific calculators, freshly immersed in trigonometry and physics, and then me, my Casio calculator, a packed lunch, and no idea what the teacher was talking about. I left that math class with a giant pit in my stomach, and I was on the verge of tears, trying to conceal my embarrassment. This leads to the next question. It's a very important lesson that I want to share with you guys tonight. Ask questions obsessively. There seems to be a stigma associated with asking questions, whether it's being afraid to ask questions because you're embarrassed or because you admit that you don't understand something. I aim to blow that stigma right out of the sky tonight because I want to share with you some of the lessons that I learned by asking questions. After my first day of class, I went to the engineering professor's office, Dr. F. Ratty. And while trying to hold back the tears, I tried to explain to her that I'd made a mistake, that I wasn't in the right math class, and that I wasn't sure I was supposed to be an engineer. F.A.T., in her kind Egyptian accent, simply said, "Here, sit down, have a carrot, and talk to me while I grade these papers." After an hour of motherly advising, a bag of carrots, and a lower-level math class, she coaxed me back into engineering. I left FAT's office with a smidgen of pride and subsided tears. That was day number 1. From that day forward, FAT would become a lifelong mentor. Starting at the lowest level math class, I slowly worked my way up, one homework assignment and one eraser at a time. Countless trips to her office for carrots and to ask her questions on homework. One of FAT's lasting pieces of advice she gave me that I want to share with you now, this is very important, was this. Go to your professor's offices and ask them questions until they are completely sick of you. True story. Why? Because it shows that you care and you want to learn, you want to understand. At first, I didn't understand this piece of advice. I didn't want to annoy my professors, nor did I want to, let them know that I didn't understand my vulnerability, my weakness that I didn't understand. But I trusted FAT, so that's exactly what I did. I left my ego at the door, and doing so, I became a regular at my professor's offices, going straight to the source when I didn't understand. Sometimes they would look up when I would knock and say, "Oh man, he's here again," but not once was I turned away. However, I was told multiple times to go try harder or go try a different process, go figure out another way to work that problem, but not once was I turned away. Now, this obsessive question asking, this advice only backfired once. After one of my tests was graded with a low test score, I went to FAT's office looking for clarification on what I did wrong. And when she was going over the test with me, she actually found additional mistakes and lowered my test grade even more in her office. Couldn't believe it. I've never had that happen before or again, but this was the exception. And I probably deserved that lower score. But in the end, I found out what I did wrong by asking questions. This obsessive questioning also got me through the mechanical engineering department at Montana State University, which, by the way, praises transfer students from FVCC. On multiple occasions, MSU professors and staff have told myself and students that FVC students are some of the most well-prepared students they've ever had, and that they're an absolute joy to have in class. This is a great testament to the dedication and instruction by FVCC. I was so proud this year to finally ask FAT one more big question: if she and her family would like to go for a ride in Google's self-driving car. It soon became apparent, however, though, that the deep caring of the professors and faculty at FVCC was not limited to FAT. Every one of them, even if they were tough as nails, were tough for a reason. They cared. I have to share a funny story with you. On one particular physics test, in Jim Boger's physics class, I was at my wit's end. I could not think. I couldn't even fathom how to answer the question. So in the answer blank, I wrote, in Star Trek terminology, I wrote, "Damn it, Jim, I'm a student, not a physicist." To which he responded when he gave my test back to me, "I need more, Mr. Scott." I got 0 points on that one for my attempt at Star Trek humor. But Jim went over the test with me afterwards, and I figured out what I did wrong. By asking questions, you can learn so much about your professors and faculty, including how cool they are. Jim Boger, physics, rode his bike and kayaked from Alaska to Montana. Dave Evans, facilities and maintenance, would take an hour off work each day to take chemistry classes. He helped me understand chemistry, sometimes by using Star Trek terminology. Colleen Unterreiner, who took us to Helena and introduced us to our state senators to stress the importance of community colleges. Myrna Ridnour, who spearheaded a nursing program on the Blackfeet Reservation in Browning. And Michael Ober, in the library, my second home, who's retiring today. Michael, thanks for your years of dedication and service. Michael would become my wisdom and guidance advisor, and then he would absolutely put me to shame at the summit lifting weights. The list here goes on and on. Students, take some time to get to know your faculty and professors. I would like to take a moment right now to praise the professors and faculty of FVCC for going above and beyond the call of duty for the students, and being genuinely cool. So now, with the professors, staff, and entire faculty at FECC, please stand up, put on your cool sunglasses, and let us give you a round of applause. Look at those cool sunglasses. Way to go, FECC. Woo! Lesson number 3, set crazy goals. I cannot stress the importance enough of setting crazy goals. Because if you and the goals are just crazy enough, you may just meet them. I've learned that life does not simply hand out opportunities. Rather, you have to seek out those opportunities. And then, if you really want to pursue it, you have to make it a crazy goal, and you have to pursue it with relentless perseverance and determination. By setting crazy goals, you find out what your true character is, your grit, what you're made of. And thus, you can tap into your true potential. Now, sometimes a crazy goal is not achievable, and that's okay, because at least you gave it a try. And then you can rest assured knowing that you pursued it, and gave it a hell of a shot. And in the end, it simply wasn't the right fit. On to the next one. Done. Here's an example. I've always had a deep fascination of space exploration and NASA, ever since my father let me leave school early sometimes so that we could watch a space shuttle launches on TV together. He always stressed the importance of peaceful space exploration, but I never really dared to believe that it was in my cards. But the fascination stayed with me. And while at FECC, I learned that NASA offered scholarships and internships. I decided to apply for some of those internships at NASA, ranging from engineering to spacecraft operations to test monkey. But I kept getting rejected due to lack of experience or not the right college level. I was pretty bummed out. I was starting to think that I wasn't actually going to make it. I was probably too old. Then one day during spring finals at FECC, I saw an internship that stopped me dead in my tracks. I saw a flyer hanging on FAT's door for an internship with NASA specifically for community college students. And that entailed designing a theoretical rover on your computer, and if the winners got to go to Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, that's where mission control is. The winners would then meet astronauts, compete in a 3-day robotics competition, and then earn the title as a NASA National Community College Aerospace Scholar. I set a crazy goal that I was going to win that damn thing. I had no idea how to design a computer on a rover on a computer, however. So that summer, I came to FECC's library every day and taught myself that computer program. I would ask my professors questions about Mars, what was realistic, what wasn't. And I would ask them if I was suffering from space psychosis from spending my whole summer in the library. The following semester, though, I got a phone call from NASA saying that my rover, the Scorpion cricket, with legs that could jump the rover out of the soft Martian soil if it got stuck, they gave me a call and they said that that was chosen as one of the winners, to get on a plane and to report to Houston. So the following week at Johnson Space Center, we met astronauts that were community college graduates, including Andrew Feustel, who recounted to us what the space shuttle launches felt like and what zero gravity felt like. We got to sit in mission control and actually talk and listen to the astronauts up on the space station. And then the highlight, getting to hear the Apollo 13 story from none other than Gene Kranz, the legendary flight director of the Apollo missions. Gene let us sit in the very chair where he sat when he received the very first phone call from the moon, from Neil Armstrong, saying, "The Eagle has landed." This was the same chair that also received the same phone call. "Houston, we have a problem." I realized after that trip the importance of setting crazy goals, because I could not bear the thought of having missed that experience. I then decided to set another crazy goal. I wanted to shoot for the moon. Well, Mars, actually. And I wanted to try for a coveted internship at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory down in Pasadena. This is the U.S. leading center for robotic exploration of the solar system. They have over 19 spacecraft exploring right now, including Mars, my personal hot button. I had little experience with robotics, however, though, or spacecraft, but I knew that this was the place to learn, so I wanted to apply. So I did, and I was rejected. Although NASA and JPL strive to accept students from community colleges, sometimes they get overlooked for the bigger name schools. Unbeknownst to me, though, a scholarship program that I applied for earlier, the Montana Space Grant Consortium, or as I like to put it, Montana Space Program, which helps Montana students get exposed to aerospace fields and STEM engineering. They called JPL, and they said, give Andrew a chance. Well, JPL did, and at the end of the summer, they called Space Grant back, and they said, thank you for sending us such enthusiastic students. While on the topic of scholarships, I must confess that without the generous support, financial aid, scholarships, grant, and financial advice that I received at FECC, I would not have made it. Being from and raised in this wonderful Flathead Valley, I know how tough it can be financially to go to school, no matter what your age. And that's scary reality when you're trying to go to school. Scholarship donors give without ever expecting a penny in return. They do that just to ensure that students like you and me get a chance to get an education. My engineering wingman, Jameson Motley, and we used to talk about how cool it would be someday when we had kick-ass jobs to give back to FECC and be able to donate back to some of the scholarship funds. Well, I'm so happy to say now that JMO and I can finally accomplish that goal. And this year, we will be creating a new scholarship at FECC that JMO and I will both be contributing to help the next generation of FEC students reach their own crazy goals. Thanks. I challenge you guys to do the same when you're able and ready. So my first day at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, I was floored. I was stunned. I was overwhelmed. JPL was in the thick of busy preparation for their latest Mars mission, a huge rover named Curiosity. Well, I was really, really lucky, and I got to help my mentor send off that huge rover to Cape Canaveral to be put on the top of the rocket to blast off on its way to Mars. Little did I know then that over the next 2 years, I would have an active role in inspecting, designing, and ensuring that NASA's deep space network and these massive antennas were sound and ready to communicate with Mars and with deep space. The highlight was having my mother and father there. They came to JPL as we watched live the rover land on Mars. That was an incredible feeling, knowing that I had a small part on that space mission just by setting a crazy goal. After getting a taste of NASA and space exploration, I was realizing that I had just as much capability as some of the students from the bigger name schools. And although I personally had to work harder to grasp the material sometimes, I knew that I could keep up. FECC has prepared you to the highest levels to go out now and not only keep up with leaders in their fields, but to exceed and to lead. I want you guys to internalize that. Go out there and lead. You have what it takes. I continued to work with JPL and NASA throughout the duration of my schooling. I attended the NASA Aeronautics Academy, where I was stationed on an air base with 11 students, and every day, every night, we just worked for NASA and helped push the envelope. It was a fantastic experience. I was also able to travel to China. I was able to propose a space mission to one of my favorite moons, a moon called Enceladus, which is one of Saturn's moons. It has huge masses of ice on it. It has oceans beneath that ice. It has geysers that shoot water out into space. That moon even has snow. I wanted to set a crazy goal to go to the International Astronautical Congress and let them know that we need to send humans to this moon to explore it. We needed to search for life there. A final example of setting and achieving crazy goals. After 35 broken bones snowboarding and chronic hip pain, I wasn't ever sure that I was going to be able to run again. So I set a crazy goal this year of doing lots of physical therapy, getting my hips strong, and competing in an Ironman 70.3 mile triathlon. This is an excruciating race that involves swimming out as far as you can see into the ocean. And then you have to cycle 56 miles through the Spanish mountains, huge mountains. Then you have to run that, after that, a half marathon in 95-degree heat. That goal doesn't seem so crazy anymore, though, as last week I did that race in Spain. I completed it. And then I flew straight here to Montana to convince you guys to absolutely blow the doors off their hinges, whatever those hinges may be. The fundamental lesson that I learned, and I want to convey to you guys by setting crazy goals, is this. If you set those goals and then tackle them and achieve them, they naturally seem less and less crazy. They're actually attainable. And that just lets you know that you're much more capable than you thought. So I know you guys are anxious and ready to graduate now and blow the roof off this place tonight. So I want you to remember 3 pieces of advice as you go out on your journeys. Dive in head first, ask questions obsessively, and set crazy goals. I now have the distinct honor of passing the baton to you, and I challenge you, do not go quietly into the night and fade into mediocrity. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. I want you to charge ahead at breakneck speed and blow these doors right off their hinges. Thank you.